Beneath New York City, past the subway lines and roaring traffic, lies another world, a hidden labyrinth, dark, wet, endless. Most people never think about it. They flush the toilet, walk the streets, and forget what lies below. But what if those shadows aren't empty? What if the sewers hide something far stranger than rats and garbage? Imagine this. A child flushes a pet alligator down the toilet, and it survives. It grows. It adapts. Generations later, pale white monsters swim beneath the city, hungry, silent, waiting. This isn't just a campfire story. It's one of America's most famous legends, the sewer alligators of New York. Tonight, we go underground, into the darkness, to ask the question, what truth hides beneath our feet?
Welcome to Jester.
New York City. The 1930s, skyscrapers rising, jazz filling the air, the Depression still heavy on people's minds, and then strange headlines begin to appear. 1907, a worker in New Jersey is bitten while cleaning a sewer. Not by a rat, not by a snake, but by an alligator. It makes the New York Times.
I can't believe
People
it.
are shocked. If it can happen once, maybe it can happen again. By the 1930s, it does. Reports spread. A dead alligator dragged from the Bronx River. Escaped reptiles in New Jersey towns. A Brooklyn subway platform thrown into chaos when a small gator crawls from a discarded bag. Each time, fear grows. Each time, the legend gets stronger. But the turning point comes in 1935, a cold February afternoon. A group of young men near the Harlem River peer into a storm drain. They see movement, they pull, and what comes out shocks the city. An alligator, alive, in the sewers of Manhattan. The New York Times headline the next morning, alligator found in uptown sewer. Imagine sipping coffee and reading that. Imagine walking the streets, knowing a reptile is crawling under your neighborhood. And fear spreads faster than fire. By the end of the decade, sightings multiply. In rivers, in subway tunnels, even in suburban lakes. No one can explain it, but everyone whispers the same thing: alligators are living below us. And then comes Teddy May, a sewer official. He claims he's seen them himself, not just one, but colonies, albino gators, pale skin, glowing eyes, creatures born without sunlight. Can you picture it, an army of white reptiles, sliding silently through the tunnels? True or not, the story spreads. Children whisper about monsters under the toilet. Adults joke nervously, but check their pipes twice, and every splash in the dark feels suspicious. Every echo sounds alive. That's how legends work. They don't just tell a story. They awaken a fear. We flush things away. We close the lid. We believe they're gone. But what if they aren't? What if they come back changed, hungry, waiting? That question turns headlines into myth. And by the 1930s, New York believes its monsters are real. So let me ask you, if you were there, would you believe if you were a worker, stepping into the tunnels with only a lantern, hearing splashes in the dark? Would you think it's just rats? Or would you wonder what's really swimming out there? Because once a city starts believing in its monsters, those monsters never go away. The legend didn't die in 1935. In fact, that's when it truly began to grow. For the rest of the 1930s, the stories multiplied. Brooklyn, the Bronx, the East River, everywhere people looked, someone claimed to see a reptile. Some swore they saw shadows slip beneath the water. Others said they heard splashes in tunnels where no man should be. Every rumor added fuel. Every whisper made the legend stronger. And then, it became culture. New Yorkers didn't just talk about sewer alligators. They joked about them. They warned their kids. They passed the story down like folklore. But with every joke came a little fear. Because deep down, people wondered, what if it's true? 1950s. A new decade. The war is over. The city is booming. But underground, the stories still slither. Sewer official Teddy. May remember him, he doubles down. He claims he saw not just one gator, but whole families of them. White-skinned, blind, creatures born in total darkness. Picture it. Entire colonies of albino alligators, breeding beneath Manhattan. Their eyes glowing red, their jaws snapping at anything that moved. Did Teddy exaggerate, Probably. But his words painted an image too terrifying to forget. Writers picked it up. By 1959, books were printing the tales. The alligators had become myth. Then came the 1960s. A new twist. Rumors spread about marijuana seeds, police raids, dealers flushing their stashes down toilets. And people said the seeds took root underground, that entire gardens of marijuana grew wild in the sewers. But here's the catch: no one dared harvest it. Why? Because it was guarded by albino alligators. The idea was absurd, but that's how legends evolve. They mix, they merge. One strange story fuses with another. And suddenly, the sewers weren't just home to reptiles. They were jungles, overgrown, dangerous, patrolled by pale monsters with snapping jaws. Can you see how powerful the myth had become? It wasn't just about animals anymore. It was about the unknown, the things we throw away, the fears we bury, coming back to life where we cannot see. Now pause. Imagine you're a teenager in the 1960s. You hear the story at school. A flushed pet. A growing monster. A sewer that smokes in winter from burning weed. Would you laugh, or would you check your toilet twice before flushing? That's the brilliance of the legend. It touched something primal. Every home has a toilet. Every street rests on top of pipes. And every person, deep down, wonders where it all goes. The sewer gator became the perfect monster because it wasn't far away. It wasn't in some distant jungle. It was under your feet. And as the decades passed, the story refused to die. Movies picked it up. Pulp magazines drew pictures of pale reptiles crawling through tunnels. Comic books whispered about beasts below the city. The legend had escaped the sewers. It was now part of American culture. Think about it. How many urban legends can you name that became official holidays yet in Manhattan? February 9th is Sewer Alligator Day. That's how deeply this story sunk its teeth into New York. But ask yourself, could it be real? Could an alligator survive in a sewer? Science says no. Cold-blooded reptiles need sunlight to live. Without heat, their bodies shut down. And in New York, winters below freezing, they would die. The sewers are also filthy, filled with bacteria, E. coli, salmonella, deadly to reptiles. And yet, the stories kept coming. Why? Because people weren't really afraid of alligators. They were afraid of the unknown, the dark underworld we never see, the possibility that what we flush away doesn't disappear. That fear more than biology kept the legend alive. So, let me ask you, if you were in New York in the 1960s, and someone swore they saw smoke rising from a manhole, would you laugh it off, or would you step back, just in case a pale reptile was about to crawl out? Because by then, the sewer alligators weren't just a story. They were part of the city itself. By the 1970s, the legend was unstoppable. No longer whispers in playgrounds, no longer just strange newspaper clippings. The sewer alligator had become a star. In 1980, Hollywood took the bait. A horror film called Alligator hit the screens. The story: a pet baby gator, flushed down the toilet, survives in the sewers. It feeds on lab rats pumped full of growth hormones and grows into a giant mutant killer. Audiences loved it because it felt possible, because the legend already lived in their heads. 7 years later, in 1987, the legend inspired a comic book, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mutated reptiles living in the sewers. Heroes instead of monsters. Sounds fun, but think about it. The turtles only make sense in a world where people already believe strange creatures could live below the city. Without the sewer gator myth, would we even have Ninja Turtles? From then on, the legend crawled everywhere. TV shows, novels, cartoons, even video games. Generations grew up with the idea that New York sewers weren't just pipes. They were habitats, dark ecosystems, filled with monsters and mystery. But what about reality? Could a real alligator survive in New York's sewers? As scientists say no, reptiles are cold-blooded. They need heat, light, and clean water. The sewers are freezing in winter, polluted year-round. An alligator might survive a few weeks, maybe a few months. But years, generations, impossible. And yet, sightings kept happening. In 2010, reports of abandoned pet alligators surfaced. In 2013, another capture made headlines. Even in 2021, shelters rescued gators within the city limits. In the past 2 years alone, 5 gators were captured. Small, under 3 feet long, but real, not in the sewers, but close enough to remind the city of its legend. So, here's the truth. The sewer alligator myth survives. Not because of science, not because of biology, but because it speaks to something deeper. It's about fear, about the things we throw away, the secrets we bury, the monsters we imagine when we flush and forget. Every culture has creatures of the dark. Europe has trolls in caves. Japan has ghosts in rivers. New York has alligators in the sewers. The myth belongs to the city, a reflection of its people, its anxieties, its humor, its imagination. Now, pause. Picture yourself in New York tonight. You're walking home. The streets are loud, crowded, alive. But a manhole cover rattles beside you. Steam rises. You hear water splash below. Would you look down? Would you dare, or would you keep walking? Pretending the noise was nothing because deep down, a part of you wonders, what if the legend is true? So what do we make of this legend for more than a century? New Yorkers have whispered about creatures below their feet. Strange reptiles, pale monsters, alligators living where no animal should survive. Science tells us it's impossible. Too cold, too dark, too filthy. And yet the stories never stop. Newspapers reported them in the 1930s. Movies reimagined them in the 1980s. Even today, shelters rescue abandoned gators in the city. The sewer alligator survives because it speaks to something deep inside us, the fear of the unknown. The idea that what we flush away never truly disappears, that the shadows we ignore are never truly empty. Think about it. Every city has secrets. Every street rests on pipes, tunnels, darkness. And in that darkness, our imaginations run wild. Maybe the sewer alligator is just a myth. Maybe it's just a story told to scare children and entertain adults. Or maybe it's more a reminder that we never really know what hides beneath us. So, the next time you walk past a manhole and hear water echo below, ask yourself, would you dare to look down? Would you risk meeting the eyes of something waiting in the dark because legends live on? Not in sewers, but in us. And as long as people believe, the sewer alligator will never die. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of New York, hit subscribe, share this story, and tell me in the comments, do you think the sewer alligator is real or just the city's favorite monster? Because the truth may be stranger than we think.